Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew from Tulip Valley, and I am so excited to be joined on today's podcast by my good friend, Tim Fry from 468 Communications, who we partnered with on putting together our Tulip Valley app. So, Tim, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me, Andrew. Nice to be here.
Yeah. Hey, let's kick us off with a little bit about who you are. Start wherever you want. Who you are, how'd you get where you are, and what are you doing that gets you excited about getting out of bed today?
I don't know if we have enough time in the podcast, but I'll try to keep it. I'll keep it.
Well, this is a 14-part mini-series, so just a sizzle reel as we get started on. You solve problems for people that want to connect in authentic and experienced ways, and it's been fantastic, partnering with you on this. I'm so glad we're able to bring this to Tulip Valley.
Well, thank you. I feel like I've come full circle in my life. I'm actually from Eastern Washington originally, grew up in the Spokane Valley on a little farm myself. But once I went away and came back from going to school, I got into the technology industry. So I did for 20 plus years, did like technology, marketing, communications for like the big technology companies like Microsoft and Samsung and Amazon. That was great. Learned a lot. It sent me all around the world. Wonderful experiences, met amazing people along the way. But after a couple of decades, I guess I became a little cynical about kind of where technology was headed. In that, people were walking around, with a bunch of these in their pockets and becoming less and less kind of connected with the real world. I found myself out there shilling a bunch of products for companies that we're focused on creating all these solutions in the search of a problem. And so, about a decade ago, I kind of walked away from that world, moved back to the Northwest, kind of closer to my roots, and moved out to the San Juan Islands, lived on Lopez Island, a very rural farming community. Yet I had all, 20, 25 years of experience in technology marketing. And pretty soon, my neighbors on Lopez saying, "Hey, we could actually use your help. We need an app. We need to be on these phones." I'm like, no, you don't.
I call that the curse of competence. You can never outrun the curse of competence.
I guess. Yeah, exactly. So it caught up with me. But then I thought about it for a while and I said, all right, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I said, all right, I'll help you build one of these apps, but let's use it in a way that makes sense for you and for your community and kind of addresses a lot of the problems that your little community and so many other communities like yours face, which is, how do we help support our local businesses? How do we help them compete in the era of Amazon Prime? How do we help people kind of navigate the community and expose them to all the richness that surrounds them, in a way that doesn't like keep people's noses in these little supercomputers. So that was kind of the genesis of a company that I launched, 468 Communications. And my tagline is storytelling for the presence economy. And the whole notion is, how do we create an economy that's based on presence? Right now we have a digital economy. And one of the externalities of that is that people are spending more and more time in the metaverse, disconnected from their surroundings. And, I thought, well, okay, we can use, the power of this technology in a way that gets people out more into their community. So I created this really basic kind of concept of rewarding people for exploring and using these devices to incentivize them to explore in a way that gets them back into local businesses. So that's what my company does. We create this technology platform that all sorts of different communities will use to do just that, to kind of create these incentives, and give people kind of a curated experience around their community, and then in the process help support local businesses. So that's kind of the overview. So that's a little bit more maybe than you were bargained for with your question.
No, absolutely. But actually, I want you to double click on the presence economy for me, because I love your white paper. We'll make that available in the show notes, because I think it really is. It's a love letter to what could be using available tools. You know, that's my tagline on the presence economy. But unpack that for a little bit. I know there are a lot of people that are listening to our podcast that are either here in the Magic Skagit or are going to come and visit. And I think, you know, the idea of, you know, presence is not lost on them. You know, but the idea of connecting presence to economic indicators, or I use the term quality of life all the time, right? As long as, if we can design the economics, you know, at the household level, at the community level, to really support a quality of life across our community, well, then we're winning. And we have this massive opportunity in Skagit County and to lean into our natural beauty, and for the people that want that. And what I've found is that that's very aspirational. The approach vectors or the as a platform, and again, your app is a platform to do that. But I think it help me unpack a little bit of that.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, these days, whenever you talk about presence, you know, people immediately go to, all right, are you present in our interaction? You know, are you here with me? You know, but rarely do people kind of associate that with anything related to kind of economics. And I guess, you know, having spent a couple decades in the technology industry, I had maybe a different view where I kind of understood how we got to this place where we're becoming less present. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is driven by how we've applied, you know, emerging technologies. So the whole notion is that, like, all right, why do people walk around, you know, with their noses in these devices? Why are people spending so much time online? Well, they're financially incentivized to do so. You know, when you have a choice, when you're, you know, super busy individual, you've got a family, there's not enough hours in the day to get it all done, and you're faced with the choice of, all right, do I go spend a couple hours around my local community on Main Street shopping around for what I need, or do I just like do a quick search, have this, you know, this huge, you know, inventory available to me, and with a click of the button, buy it and have it show up on my doorstep tomorrow? You know, like there's in finance, and it's usually, you know, actually sometimes, well, usually it's a little cheaper to do it that way, right? Mm-hmm, and so there's a financial incentive, and those are all over the place. And so I asked myself, well, okay, if that's what's driving us into this increasingly digital world and then making us kind of less present, what could we do to financially incentivize people to go the other way, right? Mm-hmm. So what could we do with the same technology to move it in the other direction? And so that was kind of the genesis of the idea I had for the app, which is, all right, well, you know, people love games on these devices. They're playing them all the time. What if we kind of gamified their exploration and gave people the ability to earn points, you know, while they went around? Okay, that's fun. But like, how can we actually financially incentivize them to go do that? Well, what if people could redeem those points at local businesses and to get discounts when they go in, not only visit that local business, but then make a purchase there? So that starts to get interesting, where it's like, okay, that's a little bit, you know, worth my time. And so that's a way we're using the exact same technology, GPS technology, smartphone technology, you know, the digital economy, to work for local businesses, to be appealing to people who have come to get really, or have become really used to these types of devices. But to do so, use them in a way that's actually going to be, you know, getting them out, you know, amongst their neighbors, getting them out to these Main Street businesses that need all the support they can get, you know, in the era of e-commerce. So that's kind of the theoretical basis for this idea of, you know, the presence economy. So if we are all over the place via Amazon and other means, creating financial incentives to make people less present, well, let's come up with all the different ways that we can economically incentivize people to be more present. You know, this app is one of them. You know, there's a lot of other ways to do it, but that was, you know, so I wrote a paper on that, you know, and I kind of like tried to make it pencil out and make people kind of understand what we were trying to do.
Right, and it is penciling out. So talk to us about how it is that you went from this this neighborhood, hey Tim, you're smart and we could use this on Lopez to, what has become a business for you that is really creating value across across North America, really, right?
Yeah, actually, so now, several years later, it has caught on, with a lot of other smaller communities and different types of organizations. I have 4 different resellers across, 4 different provinces in Canada. We're really big in Canada.
Right. Yeah. That's
And
fantastic. Well, so are we. Half of our visitors will come to.
It's pretty amazing, like where it's gone. So anyway, I'll tell you the story of when I was on Lopez and kind of how we got from like one little app for the San Juans to this platform that a bunch of different communities were using. So in the process of developing the app for the San Juans, I had a good buddy of mine, Anthony Reventi, who happened to be the 8th grade Washington State history teacher at Lopez Middle School. And he said, well, Tim, this is super cool. I totally see the promise here. Do you think there's an academic application to it? And I'm like, well, yeah, why not? And so, after about an hour-long brainstorm over his kitchen table, we came up with the idea of using the app to help teach his 8th grade Washington State history course. So I partnered with him that semester to teach this class, but make it a lot more interesting to these 14-year-olds, all of whom had these. And we said, all right, we're going to completely turn this class on its head. We're going to put you, the student, in control. You get to decide, what is historically, relevant for Washington State history. And by the end of the semester, you're going to build an app. So we just used the exact same technology that I was developing, put it in the hands of these students. They went out and determined, what are the historically significant places all around Washington State that belong in an app like this. And over the course of the semester, they populated that app and we launched it at the end. So that was pretty cool. And that was, oh, wow. I hadn't even considered that as a use case. I was sitting there working at the local chamber of commerce, and here all of a sudden there's
your product development team is a bunch of 14-year-olds.
Totally. Yeah. And so by the end of that, I'm like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. I also need to get out on the road and show this to the other communities. So I took those students' app. It was called Washington State Insider. And I packed my family into a 24-foot motorhome, branded, with, the app on the back. And we went around Washington State for 2 months and visited all these places that the kids had put into their history. And along the way, I knocked on the doors of all the different destination marketing organizations around Washington State, the chambers of commerce. And by the end of that summer, I had 6 new clients because they all saw, the value in this, and like, oh, wow, that's cool. I can do that. We spend less money every year printing up these brochures and these maps, for visitors to our community than we would spend licensing your technology to build an app that not only gives them that curated guide, it would start rewarding people for going to those places. So that was, and then things just started to roll. And so by the end of the summer, we had 6 new clients across, the Pacific Northwest. And then a few months after that, our neighbors to the north heard about it. And I got a call from the BC Craft Brewers Guild. And they said, we have this thing called the BC Ale Trail. It's a thing. We've got like 19 different ale trails across British Columbia. We've got a very successful marketing program, but what we need is a way to kind of drive people into those craft breweries. Your app they had seen some of the news coverage that we got from that summer across Washington. And they said, we kind of need that. I'm like, all right. So there's a brand new use case. I hadn't even thought about like craft breweries. And so they've been a client for like 6 years now. And then that's how other communities across, 4 different provinces started to learn about it. And then not only other communities kind of got on board, but then these economic development organizations who, their job is to like provide these types of, tools and services for their constituent communities across the province. They said, we would love to offer this to our members. And so they became my resellers, so now that's how we ended up with dozens and dozens of communities using the exact same technology, but in a bunch of different ways across Canada. So it's like, I could not have predicted any of that, but it's been so gratifying, to see these little communities that would not have had access to this type of technology be able to use it to attract, people who, who are using this technology every day.
Right. Well, and that's kind of what brought us together. I mean, you're just up in Bellingham, up the road, and I know people that look at me like, how do you know somebody that makes apps, right? No, and it's because we ask questions and we connected, and I think what I love is when I appreciate people that are, like-minded big thinkers. And so when I came to you probably 5 years ago or more, where I say, this is something that Skagit Valley really needs. We have all of this natural beauty. We have all of these really cool places to explore, but we haven't done the best job of presenting them in a way that is really coherent, or that is a tool that people from outside of our community are used to using. And then when I took the reins at Tulip Valley, it really came back up again, because one of the mandates that I was given by our founding team was to set a bigger tulip table. Well, I have had 5 years experience of trying to explain people how to get to Terramar in downtown Edison from whatever parking lot that I'm in. Hey, where's the best taco place? And so to have a kind of a curated experience where I've cultivated a bit of a personality of someone who both loves Skagit Valley and loves to share my experience of Skagit Valley, and to be able to scale that, with the app is, that's been really a cool experience.
Well, I remember our first conversation, when I kind of talked about the concept, and I showed one of our apps. You immediately got it, and you're like, oh my God, we need this in Skagit Valley. And you've been on a mission ever since to figure out a way to be able to, use this platform in a way that kind of would benefit the entire community. And what I love about what you've been doing is you're not just about like Tulip Valley Farms. Your emphasis on Tulip Valley, like you're bringing the entire community together, which is super cool, and providing a platform to share, all the stuff that you've created in a way that's going to benefit all your neighbors too. I think it's super cool.
Well, I think it's these ecosystem level catalysts. I mean, that's really what we're looking for. All of the elements are there, right? The experience is there. We have a willing partners and guests that are coming. So if we can continue to innovate around some of these catalyzing tools, this is a tool, but it's also an idea whose time has come and come and come and come. This is not new technology. Like I said, fundamentally, these are ones and zeros that have been organized to solve problems for a decade, right? And sometimes it just takes the use case and a little bit of vision and some risk to bring these together. But again, this is technology that is connecting people in communities similar to ours, across the country. Talk to us a little bit. It seems to be rural communities that are really latched onto this, or is there something, what is it about that?
I think part of it is, for the past however many decades, this type of technology has been just a little bit out of reach, for communities and smaller communities. I'd say that, because to build something like this, your typical just from scratch, from the ground up,
right?
Your typical business or chamber of commerce, whatever, they're not going to be able to afford that. I wouldn't recommend it, Right. And so one of the things, one of my main priorities from the get-go was, all right, how can I, take this 20 years of technology experience I have and make it available to a whole new, audience, a whole new group of people that just haven't had, access to it, mostly due to just the cost, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's why we developed a platform that could be customized, and
Right.
so it brought the cost way, way, way down. And I guess the other thing is, I mean, I think the last 5 or so years, there's been, as technology that, maybe people in more urban environments, the tech centers of the world, San Francisco, Seattle, they may have been living with this stuff, for the past decade, 15, 20 years, things, I think it takes a little bit longer for some of that to kind of disseminate, around the rest of the world. And so I think we benefit from timing too, like, oh, okay, yeah, we don't, this is relatively new. It's cool. It's super useful. Oh, I can afford it. Okay, great.
Right. Gang's
Let's
all
deploy
here.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think the other thing maybe is less, about cost and more just about, this is kind of a rising tide lifts all boats
Mhm.
approach, where it's, instead of it being like handed down, it's kind of from the bottom up, and so, most of our apps, it's really kind of a team effort, where all the businesses come together and they say, yeah, we're going to participate in this together. And I think that just culturally maybe speaks to maybe what you might see in more rural communities. I know, sorry, that's a huge generalization, but I
No,
think
no.
there's something there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit of a, kind of a barn raising and catalyzing effect.
Yeah.
Um, I, how have you seen, and on that note, one of the things that we discussed really early on was that, hey, Andrew, this isn't a one and done. You don't just get to launch this app and then sit back and watch people use it. It really, this is one tool of many in terms of, hey, you need to make sure that this is a complementary tool in addition to your newsletter and your social media and your, kind of seeing all of those. So from a storytelling perspective, how have you seen that work really well, and especially from the user perspective, right? So somebody says, yeah, hey, I saw this thing, I downloaded it. How does it, I guess, what are the complementary kind of applications or
You,
uses?
it's a tool. It's an
Yeah,
engagement tool.
there you
So like I talked about the BC Ale Trail, they're my poster child, over the past several years for like a really, really good application of it. Because they create a bunch of content. They're out there interviewing craft brewers. They're like super active on social media. They got advertisements, they have events, they've got Oktoberfest, they're doing all sorts of things that are kind of raising the awareness of the craft brewery industry, which is great. It's like this air cover activity. And they see the app for what it is. It's an engagement tool. So it's like, you don't just launch an app and then expect that to kind of create all that awareness for you. The app really kind of takes over where awareness building kind of leaves off. So like you create a brand, great, people love it. They're buying what you're selling. They're aligned with your mission. And what this does, it says, all right, like give me the ability to go do something about it, And so like the point collection, the point redemption, getting the local businesses involved to provide rewards, that's where this is really really done well. So like the BC Ale Trail, you go check them out. They've got an amazing website. They're super active on social media. They've got all sorts of events, going and promotions all the time. And then they say, oh, and make sure you download your app to collect your points to go in and get your reward at the craft brewery. So it kind of has to fit into kind of the overall marketing mix.
Right, which that's exactly what we're trying to do here with Skagit. I mean, with Tulip Valley app across and throughout Skagit County to be able to say, and from our parking lot, if you're looking for the best place to walk your dog or get tacos or for a staycation, or your places to stay and all that other stuff, I think that for me, that's my guilty or my selfish interest is in, I wish I could have more conversations with people to be able to say, hey, here and go do these things. but I'm so tired of saying, you go left, go down to the roundabout, turn left, and you download the app, you open it up, there's a map in there, and you sort by activity, you sort by, hey, look, I'm somewhere to stay, I'm looking for somewhere to eat, and I love the collections, right? And I think that was the part where there was another one of those that clicked for me. I think it was the Campbell River that they actually branded it as the collections. And so from solving a guest's problem. The problem is that I've got 3-day weekend and I want to go to Skagit, go, right? It's like, oh no, and it's raining. No, here's a rainy day at the beach. So here are the art galleries to go visit. Here are the coffee shops. And it's curated, right? And I think for me, that's a huge part. As much as I love the chambers, there's not a whole lot of discernment I don't want to send someone to a business that I don't personally enjoy. Right. And so because it eats into my credibility. So when I get asked, well, what do you need an app for? Well, let the tourist promotion, agency or somebody else, the chambers handle this. It's like, well, I take great pride in our reputation of being a hospitality provider. And so that is a functionality of the app that I really like.
Well, I mean, yeah, I used to live in Seattle. I lived in Seattle for 20 years. And, I always knew the tulips came out in the spring, and that's kind of all I knew. And so we'd like get in the car and drive north on I-5, and then we'd see them, and then we kind of like meander, like, okay, I think we could go over here,
Right.
And we would probably miss like all the great stuff that we could have been taken advantage of, So I think what this does is it provides that curation, those like really basic things that people need. It's like, okay, I'm here, this huge magnet of these beautiful tulip fields kind of brought me up here. Now what?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, go enjoy the color.
Right.
But, here you can stay, here's where you can eat, here's some things in the surrounding area you can go enjoy if you're going to take a 3-day weekend,
Right. Oh,
so
and it pains me when I see the parking lot at Costco and Target full of out-of-state license plates, for people that came for the Tulip Festival, because they just either they don't know better, or I mean, if they're getting gas, I think that's fine. But otherwise, we really want our neighbors' businesses parking lots full, and then to create that follow-on. I think that's the other part is we like the idea of the Tulip Valley bloom and beyond. There is a reason every season to be in Skagit Valley. And so, we hope people come back in June for the berries, and they come back in the fall for the harvest, and they come back in the winter for the birds. And to be able to cultivate the connection, provide that link, right? And I think that's the focus of the platform, where we have the personal credibility as natives, and also the platform capability to reach out. And it's not just a newsletter or direction
totally
website or
I feel like for Skagit Valley, like the Tulip Festival is like the headline, and then everything else is kind of the full story. And I think what you're trying to do is tell the whole story. And I think this has helped communities do that. Like, okay, I'm not only going to kind of give you the attention grabbing bit, I'm going to like flesh out the story that you would never have been exposed to otherwise,
Right.
And Andrew, what I love about what you're doing is, you're kind of taking on the mantle of leadership to do that for the community. And like, that's been one of the most gratifying things for me. We have a client in Ontario. The client is actually Manitoulin Brewery. And when I hear you talk about, being tired of like giving the same directions over and over again, they had the exact same experience, so they've got this amazing craft brewery on the island, and then we'll come to the island, they have no idea what to do, right? And so they created this app for the entire island. It's called like the Manitoulin Adventure Map. And so they got all the other businesses on board. They're like, okay, when you're on the island, go check out all these places. Oh, and by the way, you can redeem your rewards here at the brewery, when you're done collecting your points and exploring. And so it's a very similar model. And those are some of my favorite examples where like a member of the business community is kind of, stepped up a bit to provide the things that, for whatever reason haven't been provided.
Well, and we use the word catalyst, but it's also an artifact, for us. It's literally something tangible that people can hold to be able to say here. And again, it is an offering from me and our business to the rest of the community to be able to say, hey, we know that platforms work, right? This, especially in this digital age where they're looking to a source for solutions, and this is one that is going to meet a whole host of needs. And again, from a business perspective and from a user perspective, to be able to say, here's how we can connect in a way that's meaningful and significant and safe. I appreciate what's built into that, and we're really excited to try that out this year.
I think one thing that is going to be cool, and this is a new thing we just added to the app that is going to be in the Tulip Valley app, are the notifications. So yeah, people will download the app maybe on their way up to Skagit Valley to check out the tulips. Okay, great. They've got that app on their phone. 2 months later or a month later, when there's something else coming up in the summer, in the fall, or in the winter, you can send out those notifications to let them know, that's coming up. So that'll be a nice way to kind of keep it sticky and help you tell the rest of the story.
Right, which is a huge thing for us here. So I love it. I love it. All right. Hey, Tim, I so much appreciate your time unpacking all this for us. Anything that we didn't talk about that you think that our listeners need to hear?
Well, I'd say buy your tickets, download your app.
Yeah.
I guess I would say, look for other, outside of the app itself, like we've shielded the app in Tulip Valley Farms quite a bit, but I guess, the whole reason I got into this game was to try to find ways, to create more presence, within your community. So I guess that's what I love to leave people with is take advantage of all these amazing natural wonders we have across Skagit Valley and the Pacific Northwest, to be more present, with your family, with your community, because I think that's only going to lead to good things. So that's my message, at the end of this podcast. We talked a lot about the app, where to do it, but
No, but that's the outcome. Really, we really are. I tell people all the time, we're a connection business. So that's we're in the feelings business, which is where it's at. So Tim, Absolutely. Where can I send people that the person that's like, I want an app too? Where can I send people to connect with you?
Our website is 468insider.com. So the platform is 468 Insider. You can check out all the different apps that we've launched for different communities. We'll have to promote Tulip Valley here soon. But yeah, check it out. And I would love to launch more of these things.
Outstanding. All right, everyone, this is my friend Tim Fry from 468 Communications, and he helps solve the problems of the presence economy that we all are so desperately in need of in our own daily lives. It's about quality of life. So I'm Andrew. This is Tulip Valley, and this is the Tulip Valley Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Andrew.